A single rifle shot. That's all it took to shatter the calm on a Utah University campus. But the echoes, well, they're hitting hard across a nation already wrestling with deep political divides and, frankly, the future of free speech itself.
Absolutely. And today, we're diving into an event that really shook the country, the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
He was just 31, right? A very prominent American conservative activist, author, media figure.
That's right, co-founder of Turning Point USA. You know, sources like Axios called TPUSA a driving force in mobilizing millions of young conservatives, a really key voice in the populist Médier movement. His influence, especially with younger conservatives, was huge.
And then September 10th, 2025, he's speaking at a Turning Point event at Utah Valley University, and she's shot fatally.
Yeah. And it wasn't long before Utah's governor, Spencer Cox, and, well, many conservative outlets started calling it an assassination. That word itself just ignited everything immediately.
You know, it's important to remember, like you said, this didn't just happen out of the blue. Our sources point out it came during a really concerning time of rising political violence in the U.S. There had been other incidents.
Exactly. It wasn't in a vacuum. The Wall Street Journal even suggested this could be a kind of hinge point, something that fundamentally changes how a whole generation sees American politics. It's quite something how one act can instantly reflect and even amplify these societal cracks.
So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack the details around the assassination itself, look into Charlie Kirk's conservative legacy, what our sources say about it, and examine the reactions, which were intense and incredibly divided. Tells you a lot about where America is right now.
We've gathered quite a few sources, factual accounts, but also perspectives, strong conservative viewpoints to give you hopefully a well-rounded picture of this really pivotal moment.
Okay, let's start with the events of that day. September 10th, 2025, it's about 12:23 p.m. Mountain Time. Charlie Kirk is on stage. Big crowd, maybe 3,000 people. It was the first stop of his American comeback tour at Utah Valley University.
Yeah, and witnesses just described immediate, utter chaos.
The shot itself. How did that happen?
It was chillingly precise, apparently. A single .30.6 rifle shot, fired from a rooftop, the Lew Center building. Yeah. It's quite a distance. Initial reports said maybe 200 yards, later refined to about 142 yards.
Wow.
It struck Kirk in the neck. Reporters there described, well, graphic scenes, blood pouring everywhere. He apparently went limp right away. He was pronounced dead not long after at Timpanogos Regional Hospital.
That kind of precision from that distance, it suggests calculation, doesn't it? Not just a random act.
It really does. And it immediately brought up questions about security. I mean, this is a major figure.
Right. He had private security. University police were there, too. But people who attended, they told reporters they felt security was lax. No tickets needed. No metal detectors to get in.
Mm-hmm. And that vulnerability, as some sources suggest, might have been, well, a critical factor. It's something many reports have focused on.
So after the shooting, what happened? A manhunt?
Oh, yeah, a massive one. Kicked off right away. FBI, ATF, everyone got involved alongside local police. They did make 2 arrests early on, but those individuals were let go.
Released.
Yeah. One, George Zinn, was apparently a local activist, known for some mental health issues and disrupting events before. He'd falsely claimed he did it, but he wasn't the shooter.
Okay, so who was?
Well, the search ended 2 days later, September 12th. A 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson was arrested. His father actually convinced him to surrender.
And the details that came out after the arrest, pretty disturbing.
Extremely. Investigators found engraved bullets and unfired casings at the sniper spot. The engravings had messages, things like, "Hey, fascist, catch," and other inscriptions tied to various subcultures, anti-fascist, LGBTQ, furry, even gaming communities.
Wow. So investigators haven't officially declared a motive yet?
Not definitively, no. But they did say Robinson had gotten more political recently and clearly opposed Kirk's views. Aggravated murder charges are expected. But those engravings, they definitely add a, let's say, deeply personal and ideological layer to it all.
It's chilling. Okay, let's shift focus a bit from the event itself to the man, Charlie Kirk. Who was he, beyond the headlines? What drove him?
Well, he was born in 1993, co-founded Turning Point USA, TPUSA, back in 2012. He was only 18. And he built it incredibly fast into what sources call a well-funded media operation. Got backing from major conservative donors, became a real force in youth conservative politics.
And very connected politically, especially with Donald Trump.
Very much so. A close ally. He actually managed social media for Donald Trump Jr. during the 2016 campaign. And he spearheaded that big push to sign up 1 million students for Trump's 2020 re-election bid.
I remember his tours, like the You're Being Brainwashed tour in 2024. Our sources say that got something like 2 billion views on social media.
An incredible number, yeah. And it was seen as playing a critical role in Trump's election efforts that year. What's really interesting about Kirk, looking at the sources, is how he seemed to blend, traditional conservative economics with this growing Christian nationalist viewpoint.
Yeah.
He sort of reshaped the Margier movement's appeal, especially for younger people.
Let's dig into those core ideas a bit more, because they generated strong feelings on both sides. Christian nationalism, for example.
Right. He really leaned into that over time. Famously called the separation of church and state a fabrication. He said flat out in 2024, you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population.
And he promoted the Seven Mountain Mandate.
Yes, that's the idea that evangelical Christians should aim to influence and essentially lead 7 key areas of society: government, media, education, and so on. That was a significant part of his later message.
How did that translate into his views on social issues?
Well, he was a staunch defender of traditional marriage, one man, one woman, very critical of the Obergefell v. Hodges Supreme Court decision, the one that legalized same-sex marriage. And he used some pretty provocative language, calling LGBTQ activists the alphabet mafia, saying they want to corrupt your children.
And on transgender issues.
In 2024, he called for a national ban on gender-affirming care for minors. And controversially, he suggested Nuremberg-style trials for doctors providing that care, referencing the Nazi war crime trials that definitely drew a lot of fire.
His views on race and immigration were also very pointed, weren't they?
Extremely. He openly promoted the Great Replacement theory, the idea that, established populations are being deliberately replaced. He didn't call it a theory. He said it was a reality.
And he linked it to specific policies.
Yes. He argued democratic immigration policies were designed to diminish and decrease white demographics in America. He was also strongly against non-Christian immigration from India specifically, saying America does not need more visas for people from India.
And his proposed solutions.
Pretty drastic. According to the sources, he advocated for a complete stop to immigration and for using force, tear gas, rubber bullets, even whips against migrants at the border, calling them invaders. These were certainly not positions designed to find middle ground.
It seems like education was another big focus for him, too.
Absolutely. He started Turning Point Academy, promoting what he called America First education. He saw mainstream schools as, in his words, poisoning our youth with anti-American ideas. But he was also, ironically perhaps, a big advocate for open debate. He loved going onto college campuses and engaging directly with students, challenging what he saw as liberal orthodoxy.
So a figure who inspired intense loyalty and intense opposition.
No question. He was a hero to his supporters for confronting those ideas head-on and, well, a prime target for his critics.
Which brings us to the reactions after his assassination. As you can imagine, they were immediate and overwhelming.
Right off the bat, you had condemnations from pretty much everyone. President Trump, VP J.D. Vance, all the living former presidents, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden, international leaders, too. A real moment of sort of bipartisan shock.
But that unity didn't last long, did it?
Not at all. It fractured almost immediately along partisan lines. President Trump pointed the finger directly at the radical left, saying they compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis. He vowed to beat the hell out of them.
And other Republicans echoed that.
Some did, yeah. Accusing liberals, broadly, of inciting violence with their rhetoric. It shows, how quickly even a tragedy gets pulled into the ongoing political fight.
But there was pushback from the other side, too.
Oh, definitely. Democrats, some media outlets, they pushed back, pointing to Trump's own language as contributing to division. And they used the event to bring up gun safety debates again.
Amidst all that, there were official honors for Kirk.
Yes, significant ones. President Trump ordered flags flown at half-staff nationwide. He announced Kirk would get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, posthumously. And Vice President Vance actually flew Kirk's casket personally on Air Force Two. That really signaled Kirk's importance within the conservative movement.
There were other official actions, too, weren't there? Something from the State Department?
That's right.
Yeah.
A pretty striking move. The State Department warned it would review the legal status of any foreign residents in the U.S. caught praising, rationalizing, or making light of the killing. That shows how seriously the government viewed any perceived endorsement of the act.
Meanwhile, the public reaction was intense. The video footage.
Yeah, graphic footage of the shooting spread like wildfire online. That sparked a whole separate debate about social media's role in spreading violent content and whether platforms should do more.
And the media reaction, particularly in conservative circles.
It was strong. Fox News hosts like Jesse Waters were quoted amplifying calls for vengeance, saying things like, they're at war with us,
Yeah.
speaking to the Magi base. Really intense language.
But there were consequences for people perceived as celebrating the event, too, right?
Yes, definitely. We saw reports from places like NPR, NBC, The Guardian. They documented cases of people, teachers, firefighters, even a Secret Service employee getting fired or disciplined over social media posts that seemed to celebrate Kirk's death.
Even media figures weren't immune.
No. Matthew Dowd, an MSNBC analyst, was fired for what the network called insensitive commentary. It really highlighted a sort of societal zero tolerance for anything seen as condoning political violence, regardless of who the victim was.
The ripple effects went even further into pop culture.
Kind of surreal, yeah. Comedy Central pulled reruns of a South Park episode that had parodied Kirk. DC Comics canceled a comic book series, Red Hood, because the writer made some inflammatory comments online about Kirk's death.
But alongside the division and controversy, there was also a significant outpouring of support for Kirk.
Absolutely. Vigils were held across the country, New York, Chicago suburbs, L.A., and even internationally in London. And a fundraiser set up for his family raised nearly $4 million very quickly. Shows the depth of loyalty he commanded from his supporters.
You know, connecting this all back to that Wall Street Journal piece, they highlighted a statistic that feels really important here about generational views on political violence.
That was stark, wasn't it? While something like 93% of baby boomers say political violence is unacceptable, only 56% of Gen Z agrees.
56%.
Right.
That's a huge difference.
It is, and it's more than just a number, right? It suggests a fundamental shift, maybe, in how different generations view political action, dissent, maybe even the social contract itself. It really makes you wonder about the future of political discourse, and whether that gap could lead to even more division down the road.
So, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, it wasn't just an isolated act of violence. It's clearly ignited this huge national conversation about the specific tragedy, yes, but also about the fractures in our politics, the future of free speech. It's left a deep mark, galvanized one side, drawn condemnation from the other. And it forces all of us, I think, to face some uncomfortable truths about where we are as a country.
No easy answers, that's for sure.
Which leads to the final thought we want to leave you with. In a time when political disagreement can spiral into violence like this, and the reactions are just so polarized, what steps can you take personally to help safeguard civil debate, to stop things from sliding further? How do we, bridge these huge ideological gaps while still protecting the right to speak freely even when the ideas are challenging? How do we make sure a hinge point like this leads towards respect, not more conflict?